So, welcome to those of you that have joined us. We went ahead and started the recording. So, as I was just saying, that today is going to be a little less discussion and a little more journey. And the reason for that is, as we've been talking over this last month, we've been talking about common things for people who have just come out of a Reiki I and II class, who are newer practitioners, and the different things that we face as newer practitioners. So in this format, we've been doing longer form. We had a lot of questions in our monthly live Q&A that were to do with topics that we face as newer Reiki practitioners. And then we've also been sharing on our social media, on our Instagram and our Facebook, but Instagram tends to help those algorithms with like our reels and things like that, and common things that we have when we become new Reiki practitioners. So questions we have, like sessions, questions that we have on long or on distance Reiki, all of these different aspects of it. So that is going to continue today. But what we have for today is we are going to go into the Reiki energy, because generally speaking, that is what is going to answer our questions the most. Yes, we have those left brain topics that are really helpful, that instruction that is really helpful. But really, when it comes down to being a practitioner, what is the most helpful is listening to the Reiki energy and to our inner truth. And that is a part of what the Reiki energy helps us to do, is really helps us to go into our inner truth, helps us to follow our path in the way that is unique to us. Because while we can have instruction on all of that, which is super helpful, don't get me wrong, all of us need that, especially when we're starting out new, whether we're a practitioner, whether we are a teacher, that instruction is helpful. Those reminders are helpful. But where we are going into our Reiki path really comes down to our own inner truth. And sometimes that looks like so many different questions, like, what about different modalities that we might want to train in? What does our Reiki practice look like? Our business look like if we choose to have one? Or maybe our practice is just volunteering or working with ourselves or family or friends or animals. There's so many different paths that we all can take once we become like a Reiki I and II practitioner, that even sometimes that can be what can be challenging about it. Like, how do we decide that? What's our next step? All of those kinds of things that is a part of this practice. And also, sometimes it takes us practice, it takes us time to really listen into knowing what that is. And so that's why we're spending more time today in our guided Reiki journey, to help us to answer those questions. So, that lack of clarity around our purpose, around our intentions, um, that's really where our inner truth, inner guidance can come in. That's where the Reiki guidance can come in. The other thing that really comes down to, like, the business aspect of this is recognizing our niche or recognizing our ideal clients. There are so many different tools online, as far as like the business aspects, we have gone into that here on the distance Reiki share. We have like an entire month on it. I think we did that last year, right? Maybe last summer or fall,
I
somewhere
think
in
it
there,
was like in the spring of last year.
spring of last year. So you can also go back and look at that. We'll probably do another one from time to time, but not everybody that's in this circle is having a Reiki business or interested in having a Reiki business. So we definitely do it at certain time frames. But there's lots of aspects online that you can look these things up. There's even Reiki, the Reiki business book by Pam Allen LeBlanc. There's lots of places that you can research, what is your ideal client, defining those things, defining your niche, all of those kinds of things. Um, Discerning if you want to integrate Reiki with other modalities. So sound healing, oracle cards, all of those kinds of things that can be a part of this process. Or let's say you are in a more medical, for lack of a better word, field. So let's say you're a massage therapist or you're an acupuncturist, those kinds of things. How do you integrate that? These are the places where going into the Reiki energy, which helps us to listen to that divine energy, helps us to listen to that non dual enlightened energy. And it also opens up our own inner guidance so that we can hear ourselves, because that's really what it comes down to. Also, there's gonna be times where you're on your path, you're secure in your path, and something changes, or maybe you're being called to do something in addition to what you're doing. Again, this is where, like, the journey that we are going to be doing today can be a really helpful thing to turn to so that we can listen at a deeper level, higher level, however we like to define that. Also, we really use Reiki as applied spirituality. We use it in a practical way, as well as those big aha moments, those big things that we also like to do. We use it in an applied way. And so when we want to, Colleen and I still do this. We'll talk about, like, okay, if we're coming up to something that we're doing for work, um, we will go into a Reiki journey and listen to the Reiki energy. So it is a really big piece of our practice and something that we may not realize that we can use Reiki in those practical aspects. So if you have business things happening, if you're trying to define your business, if you're trying to create your Reiki business, your professional Reiki practice, you absolutely can use the Reiki energy and you don't have to try to figure it out all on your own. And that's really the big thing that it comes down to is you don't have to figure it out all on your own. Reiki, spirit guides, all of those things are here to help you and to help you navigate this space. So I think that that's a pretty good place to kind of hand it over to you, Colleen, with it all and start to go into this Reiki journey. But I know you have a few things to say before we continue into that.
Yes. Well, as Robin said, we use what we are doing in the next half hour um, for our Reiki practice development. So, as we always talk about, you can have Reiki practices or a Reiki practice and not have a Reiki business. If you have a Reiki business, you will have Reiki practices. So sometimes defining what that means and what it means to you on a continual basis, um, it, it's it's like it's an ongoing part of kind of your own personal inquiry, your own personal listening. What is it that you really want with your Reiki practice? Do you want a Reiki business? Are you going to, um, you know, merge it with other modalities, integrate it? Who are you speaking to when you're talking about the services that you want to offer? Are you really using your Reiki practices for your own personal growth and development? And it's not really about other people right now, or other things. Like you really need to be self-focused and give yourself this time to use Reiki for you. In all the other capacities, it's still going to do the personal growth too. But also maybe your Reiki practice is about family and friends. And maybe your Reiki practice is about volunteering with animals or in other settings. Your way of your Reiki practice is the right way for you and what it means to you. Sometimes I think that's the hard part, like figuring it out. And what I started to say was, this is what Robin and I do every time with everything that we do in our Reiki practices. So even up to yesterday, talking about today, even this morning, talking about today, each of us individually did our own Reiki journeys about this discussion this morning and what would be beneficial. And so that's why we came to the idea that what we're going to do today is do more automatic writing. You don't have to automatic write if you want to just listen and receive the answers and retain them and know what they are. But this is going to be one that is going to ask you actual questions for you to write answers down to about what does your Reiki practice mean to you? Is it a business? And if it's a business, what does that mean? What does that look like? What are your services that you offer? Things like that. So I could keep talking, but I think I'll just go ahead and go right into the journey. This is still going to be a Reiki journey. And in all the Reiki journeys that we do here, for those of you that are new, there is also the healing and empowerment aspect to the journey for you individually. So what we do in the journey is that we invite Reiki to really fill us up. We invite spiritual guides and teachers. It is entirely up to you to include your perspective of what all that means. There's no specific belief system you have to have. But we do journey with spirit guides and let go of some of the things that are challenging or creating layers that hide things from us, the things that need to be healed. And then we bring in the empowerment and the clarity. And like Robyn was saying, how does this apply in your daily life? How do you use these energies for you today? Like today, and then maybe you're going to think about it as part of your path and looking at the whole path. But it's all about being able to apply it in a way that, really brings your simplicity to your life, efficiency, practicality, and all of those things. So today what we're going to do is we'll bring in the Reiki energy in the journey and go over the bridge of light, go to the river to let go, and then we are going to go to the field of possibilities. And then it came in the other day as also the field of opportunities. And you are going to have met the spirit of your Reiki practice along the way. You'll be guided to meet it. And you may not know it right away, but the spirit of your Reiki practice is going to be with you in the field and where you can ask these questions. If you are able to do some automatic writing, there will be quite an opportunity for that. And we are going to spend a good amount of time. I will stop talking after each question so that you can take the time to write down.